I've been looking forward to Borderlands 3 since it was first announced. Part of my immediate attraction to the game was the aspect of cults behind it. I had said, months before I saw the game, that between Far Cry 5, American Horror Story, and all the new Manson family media that was coming out, we were showing an obsession with cults as a culture. So when Borderlands 3 was announced to have a cult focus, I should have been pissed off, but instead I was excited. The game that so artfully took the piss out of fantasy RPGs, shooters, and pop culture clutter of all kinds was going to turn its eyes onto something that I had noticed too. I was ecstatic, and then they released the villains and I fell hard because Handsome Jack was one of the principal draws of the series for me, and I was so happy to have something that looked like a worthy successor to his throne of douchiness.
Gods don't negotiate.
Gods don't negotiate! I love it! Love it!
Lastly, in the run-up to marketing, we got to see all 4 characters and their kits, and I had genuine trouble choosing who I wanted to be. I ended up going with Flak, since I usually went with the odd one out in all of Borderlands' other groupings. If I had to pick a favorite aspect of the game so far, it would be the new characters. Like I said, I had a hard time picking a Vault Hunter to play as. Of the 4-player characters announced, I wanted to play as 3 of them, and by the time of the launch I had only narrowed it down to 2. But Flak has been a lot of fun, both narratively and mechanically. And then there's Tyreen.
What up, my bandit orphans?
And Troy. My loves. Again, the villains were a huge pull for me, but I didn't expect to love my new God Queen or her gorgeous reinforcer as much as I do.
You're my most loyal follower, Vault Thief. You just don't know it yet.
If I have to pick on something, I'll pick on the returning cast. Now there's 2 ways to improve on a returning cast, especially if you're into your 3rd-ish game. One of them is to arc them over the entire series and let them evolve to their fullest, and the second is to not change them in the slightest. Gearbox kinda did the thing. Ellie hasn't changed at all, which is great for me again because I loved Ellie. Unfortunately, that's where my compliments end.
That said, might be right to just go ahead and shoot him in the ass.
At time of writing, I'm only 4 hours in, but every other returning character is an absolute tool. But I really want to get some special hate on. People who watched my stream of this game will think that we're about to talk about Vaughn, because I have a raging hate on for Vaughn.
4-0, baby!
Wrong, fuckers. I need to talk about Lilith for a hot minute. As far as I can tell, Lilith is replacing Roland as the pushy person who recruits you into the Crimson Scout troop basically just by looking at you. I'm not calling foul on that because I guess someone has to fill that role and Lilith was the next closest to leadership. What I will call foul on is the fact that Lilith has absolutely no space to be critiquing Tyreen. Tyreen is a siren with a literal cult following who's been killing an awful lot of people and wants to use the vault map to open the vaults because she feels that she's entitled to it. Now Lilith is a siren who has killed an awful lot of people, has had a literal cult worshipping her and enjoyed her time with it, and wants the vault map for herself, apparently feeling that she has the right to it more than Tyreen. Rather entitled. But Tyreen is the evil one and Lilith is in the moral right somehow. I'm sorry, I'm calling bullshit. I don't think that's right.
You sure you picked the right team?
The gameplay is good, and by good I mean untouched. Nearly nothing has changed, and that can either be a loving caress or a kick in the tits, depending on how much you like Borderlands' combat. And I love Borderlands' combat, so I'm getting a massage while relaxing in the woods. The fact that Borderlands hasn't budged an inch in over 7 years speaks to the effectiveness of its formula, but their one-time collaborator Telltale Games had a similar monopoly and could probably tell them a tale. One thing that I feel people might ask me is whether or not the game is a good one to jump into the series with, and my answer would be yes and no. On one hand, the new player will probably have a better time with the plot since it's contextualized a little bit better and it's less nose to the grindstone right off the bat than 2 or the pre-sequel. On the other hand, there's a bit of a difficulty lurch and new players might not know how to find shields, or understand the critical importance of comparing all of one's loot before heading to a vending machine. Those aspects of the games are poorly tutorialized and would probably trip up a lot of newer players. I think the best way I could tell someone that I recommend a game is whether or not I plan to keep on playing it. And I definitely do plan on playing more of this game because this is the pure Borderlands experience, even with the little difficulty spikes. I still like enough people to be invested in the story, even if Lilith is a hypocrite and Vaughn needs a pesticide enema.
And why do you smell like dust and skin?
But it's still Borderlands, and Borderlands is good. So good. Amazing, even.